Okay, we're on page 273, chapter 23. President of the Ramakrishna Order. And this was in April 1933. The last week. Okay. As soon as the news of Swami Shivananda's sudden loss of speech spread amongst the centers, sannyasins and brahmacharins hastened to gather at Bellarmont. Devotees from all quarters, far and near, also flocked to see him. One morning, while his face was being washed, Swami Akhandananda entered the room calling Dada, Dada, meaning elder brother. As he approached the bed, Mahapurush Maharaj tried to speak, but could only make an inaudible sound. Then he sobbed like a child. As it continued for half an hour, everyone became grave. Swami Akhandananda sat beside him, reciting the Purusha Shukta, the Devi Shukta, and portions of the Upanishads. After an hour of the chanting and talk of the Master, the Swami became quiet. Swami Akhandananda remained at the mat for 6 months. Almost every day he sat beside Mahapurush Maharaj and recited portions of the Gita, the Chandi, and the Upanishads. The Chandi, as you all know, is the Devi Mahatmya, which is the song to the Divine Mother. Just giving you one Sanskrit name after the next. He also mentioned past incidents known to both of them in their youth at the feet of the Master, which gave Mahapurush Maharaj great joy. Day after day, the sight of the childlike love and companionship between the two spiritual sons of Sri Ramakrishna made onlookers feel that it was a scene not of death, not of earth, but of heaven. The word Dada from the lips of Swami Akhandananda sounded like that of a little brother sweetly addressing his elder brother. One afternoon, Swami Akhandananda, with heavy heart, was sitting on a chair at the old Bellarmont landing ghat on the Ganga. 5 or 6 sadhus and devotees sat near him. After a long silence, he said, "One day, let 108 of the sadhus gather in the chapel and pray. May it be for the welfare of all. May Mahapurush Ji get well. It will be for the good of the world if he recovers." Another day, he sent sannyasins to the Tarakeshwara temple by the railway line in Hooghly with special offerings for the deity. According to his directions, they fasted and prayed there for a number of days that Mahapurush Maharaj might recover. At the wish of Mahapurush Ji himself, Swami Akhandananda instructed 2 brahmacharins to sing songs to Sri Ramakrishna every morning, just after the dawn service in the shrine. Every day at dawn, Swami Akhandananda sat in the chapel for meditation. One day he heard the Master calling him by name, asking, "Ganga, Ganga, why do not all the sadhus come?" He heard these words more than once. When the monks learned about it, most of them joined the early morning service. While Swami Akhandananda remained at the Bellarmont, he kept a watchful eye on everything. He got up at dawn and roused the sleeping sadhus, saying, "The Master has got up. You should no more be in bed." He then repeated the names of Shiva and Durga and recited his favorite spiritual texts. In the evening, he sprinkled Ganga water on himself and clapped his hands as he repeated, "Hari Bol, Hari Bol," chant the name of Hari. Then with rapt attention, he listened to the Vesper hymns in the shrine. At this time, a married devotee from South India came to Bellarmont for initiation. The trustees of the Mat requested Swami Akhandananda to initiate him, as Mahapurush Maharaj was unable to do so. However, the Swami would not agree to initiate a married man without the Master's command. Previously, Swamiji had given him the order, shave their heads and make disciples of them. In other words, initiate only those who renounce the worldly life. A few days passed. One afternoon, while he was musing on these memories, a scene flashed before his eyes. At Keshab Sen's house, the master was saying, "Keshab, you have had enough of it, now stop." As the Swami saw this, he thought to himself, "To married people who come to me, I shall repeat these words of the master." Thus, the problem was solved. Another day, a group of girls came to Bellarmont and were seen strolling about leisurely. It was not to Swami Akhandananda's liking. He expressed his disapproval of those girls who, having come to visit the Bellarmont, aimlessly walked about, wasting time. He said after visiting the temples, they should sit and repeat the Lord's name or meditate and then depart. When girls with modern education came to him, he would often ask them, "Have you read the Ramayana and the Mahabharata?" An initiated devotee of Mahapurush Maharaj had a desire to take his guru to his newly built home. At the request of Mahapurush Maharaj, the devotee took Swami Akhandananda there instead for a few days. The Swami left the Mat on Friday, saying he would return on Sunday. The devotee was the curator of the Calcutta Museum, so the Swami visited the museum every day. He was particularly interested to see the archaeological section. One day, a professor of botany came to the museum with a plant which emitted light. Swami Akhandananda was delighted to see it. "While climbing in the Himalayas, I noticed this plant," he said. "As I walked along some lonely path in the darkness, there would be a flash of light all around." Then, he added, "In those days, I was indifferent to such things and ignored them. But now I see God in everything, and so I accept everything with the idea that it is He." 9 days passed before the Swami returned to the Mat. Someone said to him, "You told us you would be back on Sunday, but you have come back much later." He laughed like a mischievous boy and said, "Why, today is Sunday. I surely must have kept my word." All laughed heartily. On another day, Swami Akhandananda went with the curator to the Shibpur Botanical Gardens. His friend, the superintendent of the gardens, showed them around, and arrangements were made by the curator to send some of the rare plants to Sargachi. At the time of the Durga Puja, the Divine Mother was worshipped at the Bellarmont with all pomp and grandeur that is customary on such occasions. Mahapurush Maharaj was carried from his room in an armchair to see the image. At dawn on each of the 10 days of the puja, Swami Akhandananda sat just outside Swamiji's room reciting in his melodious voice the glories of the Divine Mother in the Chandi, just for Swamiji to hear. On the 6th day of the bright fortnight, Swami Akhandananda dreamed during the night that Swami Vivekananda was saying to him, "Well, Ganga, why do my clothes smell of naphthalene? Won't you give me some new clothes to wear this day?" It is the custom to wear new clothes on the first day of the puja. Immediately, Swami Akhandananda got up from his bed, called for the monk who conducted the worship, and said, "Go and bring some new clothes quickly." Swamiji's room was opened and incense was burned. Then the Swami offered Swamiji new clothes scented with agru. When this was done, he asked the monk to perform the dawn service. "But it is only 2:30, the monk replied. "For us, tonight, this will be the hour of dawn," responded the Swami. Then he told the monk of his dream. After the service, the monk held Swami's feet in devotion, and with tears in his eyes, "Maharaj," he exclaimed, "how unlucky we are. We are not fortunate enough to hear and see such things. Please bless us that we too may have such a divine experience. Swami Akhandananda stayed at the Mat for more than 6 months. Finding Swami Shivananda Maharaj slightly better, he wished to return to the Sargachi ashram after the puja. He requested those at the Mat to keep him informed of the condition of Mahapurush Maharaj and to telegraph him if necessary. In the first week of November, he left Bellarmine with 2 attendants and returned to Sargachi by the evening train. While he was away, the roof of the dispensary building at the ashram had been completed, and the plants from the botanical gardens were planted. A new house with 3 rooms and a long veranda was under construction. In front was a terrace with a row of eucalyptus trees, enclosing a garden. In the garden, a rockery was artistically built with miniature pathways, springs, and culverts, and a steep precipice. All these improvements gave the Swami much joy. He derived great pleasure in showing devotees the rockery. It recalled to him the scenes of the Himalaya travels, and he related the adventures of his younger days. The devotee Binod Babu was very unassuming. Few people knew how much he had contributed to different centers of the Ramakrishna mission. The new house was being built by him, and Swami Akhandananda named it Binod Kutir. The garden was called Binod Kanan, and the rockery Binod Kut. Even the round stone at its top, a symbol of Shiva, was named Binodesvar Shiva. On his birthday, Dashahara, when the Ganga is worshipped, Swami Akhandananda adorned Binod Babu with garlands, sandal paste, and placed a lighted lamp beside him. The Swami then sat beside the devotee, feeding and serving him with great love and respect. During the 3rd week of January 1943, terrible news of the devastating earthquake in North Bihar shocked the country. Swami Akhandananda wrote an article, Pralaya Nakan, comparing the earthquake with Shiva's dance of cosmic destruction. It was published in the daily Basumati. One day, soon after the earthquake, the Swami was about to have his lunch when he received a letter from one of the mission relief centers describing the awesome scenes of destruction. He was so moved that he could not take his meal. After a while, he asked the attendants to remove the dishes and to take their meals. Hardly had this great catastrophe fallen upon the people than the stunning news reached him that Mahapurush Maharaj had entered Mahasamadhi. He passed 2 or 3 days alone, with scarcely a word to anybody. A few days later, some of the sadhus from Bellarmine came to take him to the Mat. All were expecting, as a matter of course, that Swami Akhandananda would succeed Mahapurush Maharaj as the president of the order, but he was reluctant to do so. He finally accepted the presidentship as a command of the order after the trustees of the Bellarmine requested him to do so. One day in April, soon afterwards, he was sitting in his room at the Mat. Some monks and brahmacharins were standing before him. His face was grave and tears came to his eyes as he spoke to them of the distress of the people of Bihar after the terrible earthquake. He said to them, "I told the Master with tears in my eyes that I would have served the afflicted with my own hands had I not been old and infirm." Then, to inspire the brahmacharins, he said, "Go and sacrifice yourself in this work of service. It will give me peace." It was decided that he would visit the mission relief centers in Bihar. With 3 attendants, he started in April for the affected areas. Leaving the train at Jamalpur, he motored to Magyar. On the way, he saw nothing but havoc on both sides of the road. Even the devotee's home at which he stayed had been damaged by the shock. After resting, the Swami went into the town. Mounds of ruins lay everywhere. The town was so desolate and still that it had the appearance of a cremation ground. Here and there, a few persons were seen in mourning. When he returned to his lodging in the evening, he heard vivid descriptions of the earthquake on that fateful day. Some had been to the market, some had gone to attend their business. They returned to find their home in ruins and their loved ones buried under debris. There were a few survivors in some families. In others, there were none. Swami Akhandananda listened in silence to the doleful narrations. He encouraged the workers and asked them to carry on their relief efforts in such a way that the bereaved people would be consoled to some extent. They must bring solace to the wounded hearts of these unfortunate people. Many bereaved families went to the Swami daily for comfort. One European lady invited him to her bungalow, which had been damaged. Added to this, she was experiencing family problems. Listening to his sympathetic words, she regained her peace of mind. Subsequently, she visited him daily with milk, flowers, and fruits, and returned home with a cheerful heart. While at Magyar, Swami Akhandananda visited some holy places nearby. He went to see the Sita Kund and touched the waters of the spring, visiting the temples, and then sat in meditation for some time. He also went to the Kashtaharani Ghat at Magyar, touching the sacred waters of the Ganga and visiting the nearby temples. When he left Magyar after a stay of 7 days, many people, both men and women, went to the station to see him depart. Their hearts were sad to see him leave. At Bhagalpur, he was received with garlands and taken to the home of a devotee. He recounted to his listeners the story of his first visit to this town as a wandering monk with Swami Vivekananda, and of his second visit during the Goga flood to engage in relief work. On the following day, he went around the town consoling many bereaved people who had suffered losses in the earthquake. He saw the temple of Bhuranat Shiva, which is famous in this area. 4 days later, on May 10, he was recalled back to Bellarmine on urgent business. For the first few days after the Swami's arrival, there was much talk about the earthquake. The newspapers published the statement of a well-known person who was reported to have said, "The earthquake is due to the sin of untouchability." Swami Akhandananda felt that such a remark was unfortunate and commented, "How can one be so sure about cause and effect? If untouchability was the cause, why should it have happened in Bihar and not in Malabar? One should not say such things at a time like this." The Swami returned to Sargachi during the last week of May. The strain of the journey had affected his heart, and doctors advised him to take complete rest. An attempt was made to take him back again to Bellarmine for better care and treatment, but he thought that he could have the same care and rest at Sargachi. However, the pressure of work at the ashram would not permit the required care. The Swami continued in this state of poor health for 4 or 5 months during the time of the Durga Puja. With sickness in the ashram, besides poverty and misery all around, there appeared no signs of joy at the advent of Anandamayi, the goddess of joy, Durga. The gloom was so oppressive that even Swami Akhandananda was affected by it. Sitting moodily in the ashram one day, he heard a voice say from within, "You are a friend of the poor. I have kept you here to serve those who are afflicted by epidemic and famine. This year there is much distress about you, but you have not the wherewithal to give relief to any. How can you think of enjoyment in the face of all this misery? Such happiness is not for you, nor will it benefit you." Thus the Swami could say, "I am a sharer of the joys and sorrows of the people. This is the lifelong discipline and the final attainment of one avowed to the service of humanity." During the puja days, a devotee sang songs about the mother, which brought much peace to Swami Akhandananda. Then came news from Bellarmine that Swami Akhandananda, head of the Providence Center, Rhode Island, had arrived from the United States with 2 American disciples, Mrs. Wootster, Annapurna, and Miss Rubel, Bhakti. They had traveled to India to discuss plans for the construction of the temple of Sri Ramakrishna at Belur, as originally planned by Swami Vivekananda. The presence of Swami Akhandananda was essential. Just at this time, a devotee of South Calcutta dreamed that Mahapurush Maharaj had visited his newly built house and that he was joyfully serving the Swami. The next afternoon, as he was recalling the dream, he received a letter from Swami Akhandananda informing him that he was coming to visit him the next day. The devotee's heart was full. The Swami stayed 3 days at the devotee's house and then proceeded to the mutt, where he met with Swami Akhandananda and the American ladies. In time, the ladies became greatly devoted to him, and this gave him much joy. After the talks were over, Swami Akhandananda, with other sannyasins, accompanied the visitors to Bombay to see them off on their return trip. A member of the Bombay ashram writes, "At the station in Bombay, Maharaj was given a royal reception. In the ashram, people gathered round him morning and evening to listen to his words. One day, at his direction, tea was prepared in a variety of ways, including the Russian tea with slices of lemon and Mughal tea with milk, pasted nuts, and spices. On another day, he said, 'Each of you prepare a dish of your own choice. We shall see whose is best.' On this day, he sat with all at lunch." During Swami Akhandananda's visit to Bombay, a young man visited him and expressed his desire to become a sadhu. The Swami said to him, "A very good desire indeed, but can you journey on foot to Konkal and join the ashram there?" The young man covered the long distance, undergoing much hardship, and joined the ashram. This young man would later be Swami Sarvagatananda, who became the Swami in charge of both Boston and Providence. It was proposed that relics of the Holy Mother be placed by Swami Akhandananda beneath the altar of the shrine at the Bombay ashram on Shama Puja night, Kali Puja night. After the offerings of food were made in the shrine, the head of the ashram went to call Swami Akhandananda, who was lying on his bed. At the first call, the Swami gave no reply. At last he said, "Very well, let us appoint some other day for it." On the Jagadatri Puja day, after his morning bath, he entered the shrine and placed the relics of the Holy Mother within the altar. He then offered flowers and sat reciting hymns to the goddess from the Chandi for almost an hour. The shrine resounded with his sonorous voice. Many people, including some Parsi young men, approached him for initiation. He told the married that they must practice continence and purity in their lives. Only those who remained, even after he had mentioned these conditions, were initiated. Swami Akhandananda and his devotees were given a hearty send-off on the day of their departure. Then Swami Akhandananda started back to Calcutta. He stopped at the Nagpur ashram for 3 days at the request of the head of that ashram. Then he initiated some specially selected devotees. He said to some students there who desired to be initiated, "Come to Sargachi." The Swami reached Calcutta by the end of November and again stayed at the home of the South Calcutta devotee. On the last day of his visit to Bellarmont, while getting into the motor car, he said, "Next time, no more to places like Bombay. It will be a longer journey and all alone." Apprehensive glances were exchanged by those present at these portentous words. And we're going to stop there this evening. We will have at least one more, if not two more, Wednesdays reading this book. Are there any questions about anything that we read today? John?
The number 108. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, the number 108 seems to be of interest. 108 monks were invited. You've got 108 beads on the mala, on the rosary. What's the significance of 108?
Well, it's called an auspicious number.
Okay.
And I know that when you're doing them all, 108, you do 100 for your salvation, and 8, I think 8 for the world, or 4 for the world and 4 in respect of your guru, I'm not sure, but 8 for the good of the world.
So when he invited 108 monks to whatever that was, there was something auspicious about that. Then everybody came, evidently.
Well, 108 seems to be an auspicious number in more than just Hindu religion.
Yeah.
9 is considered an eternal number.
Yeah,
By different.
there's Amrita is here, and she's saying 9 is considered the eternal number. It's also in mathematics, as you well know, John, a magic number. The magic number.
4 times 27, and
yeah, you know that one.
The other interesting
So this all has to do with
8 in it, particularly if it ends in an 8, is good. Anything with a 4 is not. I could explain it to you, but it'd take too long. So it's interesting in those cultures. The 8 itself is very important to the Chinese.
Yeah, but 108, when you add them across, is 9.
Right.
Yeah.
I got it.
And
I
so,
found somebody.
you know, it all has to do with, I'm sure, the study of numerology, which
Well,
I'm not an expert at.
Any number that the sum of the numbers can be divided by 3 is a number that can be divided by 3. That's
Yeah.
another part of it.
Does anyone else have any other questions? No? Yeah.
I thought in one section they were talking about Swami Akhandananda chanting from the Chandi and Upanishads, and then his favorite scripture. I'm not.
It didn't say his favorite scripture, I think.
That they said.
I think.
At the very beginning of your reading.
Okay, just one second. It said, Amrita's asking which he was chanting. And almost every day he sat beside Mahapurush chanting portions of the Gita, the Chandi, and the Upanishads.
And then the next line is.
The next line, he also mentioned past incidences known to both of them from their life with the Master. It doesn't say he chanted. There's another place where he was chanting, though.
But he's asking some people to read certain scriptures, but at that time, wasn't the gospel available in Bengali?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they wouldn't be reading that anyway. They would just be going down memory lane and talking about their own experiences. It seems that he chanted the Chandi at Mahapurush's side a great deal, and that he asked the young men to go chant the Chandi also. But that's all I see. And also, oh, here's what you were talking about. The master has got up. You should be no more in bed. He then repeated the names of Shiva and Durga and recited his favorite scriptural texts. But that's all they say. Okay. In the evening, he sprinkled Ganga water on himself and clapped his hands, chanting Hari Bol, Hari Bol. But they don't mention what his favorite texts were. Okay, our announcements. We will not have a gospel reading this coming Saturday. We will have a Bhagavad Gita class with Swami Sarvadevananda at 5 o'clock. If you are a member, you will receive a Zoom link to attend the annual members meeting at 10 a.m. on the 27th, that Saturday. And Swami will give a talk on the 28th Sunday, The Forest of Samsara. So, I hope you're all there. And next Wednesday, we'll still be working on Swami Akhandananda. And I promise I will try to bring the book up. I have it. Our next book. But it is Swami Ramakrishna Ananda, Apostle to the South. Okay, so Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat, Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.